Awesome, man. I knew you would. Okay, we ready to go?
We're good.
Okay, so this is kind of interesting because this is the Bitcoin Maximalist Success Blueprint. So in other words, as Wayne said a little bit earlier, and some of the stuff that Wayne did from the last meetup will be actually in my presentation as well, because dollar cost averaging is one of the most important things you can do in Bitcoin. In other words, you get a few bucks in every month. It doesn't matter, whatever's comfortable to you and whatever a few bucks means to you, you get in every single month. But you do it every month. If the price is $90,750, you still buy it. If the price is $50,000, $60,000, which it might go back down to, we don't know, and I'm talking Canadian now, by the way, you still buy it. You just don't pay attention to the price, because the objective always is to get the Satoshis. So this is what we're talking about, stacking sats. I know it's on now. Okay, well it did, it was just a little slow. So financial independence, the objective is to double your Bitcoin. That's what this plan is about. It's about doubling your Bitcoin, and doubling no matter how much you have. I mean, we're going to talk in the presentation just to go from 1 to say 3, but you know, 1 Bitcoin is a lot of money for a lot of people, because as we said, right now it's about $90,750. So it's just a 1 to 3 is part of the equation that we're trying to figure out to show people that you can increase the amount of Bitcoin that you have without actually going ahead and you know, selling a kidney or something. You know, yeah. I could have got so much money.
Dialysis for 11 years.
So there's some strategies, and they're basic strategies. I mean, basically a HODL. Passive income, we're going to talk about that just a little bit, how you can take it, put it into different things to start getting a little bit back every time. And these tiny little bits that you keep getting back all the time, they add up to a lot over the course of a year, 2 years, 3 years. And by the way, this plan that I'm talking about is not a get-rich-quick thing. This is something that I'm talking, and I don't give any financial advice. I should get that officially out there. But this is something where you can just do slowly, carefully, and in about a 1 to 3 year period, you can double your holdings on Bitcoin. And that's really the objective, is to double your holdings, whatever that amount may be. So we're going to go through all these things, and I'll just quickly go over them. Passive income with BTC lending, Bitcoin yield opportunities, cashback reward programs, automating your buys, dollar cost averaging, what Wayne went over in the last meetup, and swing trades smartly. That's a little trickier one. We'll talk about that a little bit, and some people like doing this. It's a little riskier, but you can do 5 to 10% of your portfolio and take very little risk, and maybe sometimes get some big returns. And BTC doubling timetable, how long is it going to take this to happen? And then how are we going to go about doing this? What's our risk management going to be while we do this? Because, you know, we've all heard horror stories about people losing all their Bitcoin because they're not doing good, safe, you know, storage of their crypto. And unfortunately, I've got a lot of horror stories on that one too. So I'll just click it this way. Okay, so the goal is to start with 1 Bitcoin and grow it to 2 to 3 within a 3-year span. And again, it doesn't have to be 1, it could be 0.1, it could be 0.001. The number is really kind of irrelevant. So hodling is the #1 way that you do make Bitcoin more valuable. And this is a concept that we were never taught, because what ends up happening is, what we were taught is you put it in the bank, you get a small percentage every month, you pay your monthly fees, and then you hope you get a little more by the end of the year. And that's how things work with our traditional kind of fiat system. With Bitcoin, it's different. The longer you hold it, the more valuable it becomes, because there's a limited supply. It's simple stuff, but people just don't get it. There's a limited supply. It'll never be out there the way our government currencies are, where they can increase the supply whenever they feel like it. If they think that they want to buy whatever they want to buy, like $10,000 bathtubs and things like this, they just increase the value of, they just increase the supply of our currency, and they devalue all of our value. With Bitcoin, that doesn't happen. And so it's really a really dynamic change that happens with Bitcoin, because when we've got involved in this, Bitcoin was just over $300. And I've told this to a lot of people, that if you hang on to Bitcoin and you get crypto concentric in your thinking, and you start buying and acquiring more and more Bitcoin, fiat currency will get easier and easier to acquire, because the value of your Bitcoin and the value will go up consistently so high that eventually you just have to cash a tiny little bit to get a whole bunch of fiat currency. And I know it's, like I said, contrary to our normal kind of thinking, because, you know, you might buy some Bitcoin today, and tomorrow or the day after it might be 20% of the value. You might have bought 10 grand today, and next week it might be worth 2 grand. And you know, our traditional kind of thinking makes us go, oh my God, I got to get rid of that stuff. It's garbage. Like, why would I want to keep that? And
the day after it goes up to 20.
exactly. And or the next year, it may not be the day after, but the next year it'll go to double that value again. And that's where, you know, if you look at this more of a long-term kind of strategy, I've had this conversation with a lot of customers, and I've always said to them, think about this like an RRSP. Think about it as something that you're going to have for a lot of years, but not like an RRSP, because an RRSP is just going to cost you money and going to generally lose money in the long run. So yeah, it's much, much better. Okay, so passive income. So you can lend your Bitcoin out. One of the platforms that we can look at is Lend, LDN. It's a decentralized platform.
Like
and
HODL?
yeah, like HODL, LDN, but it's a decentralized platform. And anytime you take your crypto and you put it onto a platform, you are risking because you're trusting that platform. But if you mitigate the risk by putting it over several platforms, you can lower that down. And you don't have to take all of your Bitcoin to do this. You can take a percentage, you can test this, you can try it, you can make sure that you know what you're doing before you go any further with it. Generally, you'll get around 4 to 6% in a yearly value. So, you know, for every $100 in Bitcoin, you're going to get another $4, $6 back every single year, right? So that can add up really, really quickly.
Dollars or 4%.
4%.
4%.
You get 4%. I use dollars as an example, but you know, if you got
4% of your value.
100 Satoshis, you end up with 104 at the end of the year.
Are there minimums to participate in the platform?
You'd have to look at the particular platform. There's a few different ones out there. Lend is one of the ones that I've checked, and it still seems to be working okay. There's different provinces. This is really weird, but there's different provinces in Canada where you can and can't even deal with Lend. And there was another one that I used to recommend as well that they've changed the regulation now, and you can't deal with that in Manitoba anymore. But Lend is still available in Manitoba. In some provinces, it's not. So, you know, you got to be kind of careful. But Lend is good. You'll get 4 to 6%. And all you got to do is basically, through a very simple interface, you put your Bitcoin in there, and they pay you back 4 to 6% per year. They're using your Bitcoin, don't kid yourself. And you're trusting that platform. You're hoping that that platform will give you back your Bitcoin at the end of the term. So you are taking a risk. And it's not that hard. It's very, very simple. But one of the things you got to look at is you want to look at a bigger platform. Like I'm recommending Lend, and there's several others I used to recommend as well that I don't recommend anymore because some of these ones are just not as safe as they used to be. So you've got to do your own research as always. But look into lending platforms for Bitcoin and stick with the larger guys who have really good track records and have been around for a long time because, you know, there's a lot of scammers out there. So last thing I'd want to do is recommend someone to lose their crypto. Okay, so some reliable platforms in Canada, BlockFi, Swan, ShakePay. I mean, I use ShakePay. I was just shaking my phone the other few minutes ago to get my 1 or 2 Satoshis that I get. You know, Satoshi is the smallest increment of a Bitcoin, and it's not really worth a lot, but who knows? You know, a lot of time. Those guys could be like you. ShakePay could be like you. They could be giving away hundreds of millions of dollars a day.
I got like 5 US in my ShakePay just from shaking.
Really?
I just shake.
That's what I do too. I know. How long is your streak now?
I think it's 300 days.
300 days.
Wow.
Here I'm all proud because I got 48 days.
Oh, yeah. I don't usually get more than 7.
That's funny. But if you keep doing all these little things, they accumulate over time and they end up increasing the amount of Bitcoin you have. And that's our objective in this whole, you know, experiment, is to see if we can increase our Bitcoin. So if you do these kinds of things and you take advantage of these, you can get a yield of about another 3 to 6%, depending on what happens with the marketplace. And you know, we try and look with any of the platforms that have cold storage. Like if you hear of a platform and it says all of our coins are in cold storage, that's a really good thing. That means that it's air gapped from the internet. That means that the company has best practices that are available. There's no perfect crypto company out there when it's a centralized company, because let's face it, they have your value, so they could walk away with it at any time. But there are best practices, and you want to make sure the ones that have cold storage and that are taking these things really, really seriously. And you know, I hate to say it, but some of the government endorsements as well, because they've, you know, taken certain measures to make sure that the crypto is offline and safe. You know, these are really important things. The other one is something like cashback programs. Does anyone use cashback credit cards, for example? Anybody? Oh, did you sign up through me? If you didn't, you should have. What the hell?
I heard it from you though, but I didn't.
So it's one like this. It's like a Visa credit debit card.
Debit card.
Yeah, and it makes noise when it hits the ground. It's like it's made out of metal. And yeah, so I mean, these are one of the things that you can do. I mean, you can basically you can be, you know what I mean, Wayne? You can be buying things like this, and you can be getting back cash back all the time. Like 4% cash back is a lot over the course of a year.
And you can then stake.
That's
those
4%
coins.
cash back?
Can be as high as 4%, depends on how much you put with them. Yeah,
Plus you can stake.
Oh,
those
the card, the
tokens.
cashback card.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no.
yeah.
I got to
Stake them.
Stake the ones that you get?
Well, that's the Crypto.com card, and I get CRO tokens for every time I spend it. I've got the Tesla hooked up so that whenever I go and charge the Tesla, I get paid back a little bit of these CRO tokens, which have gone up a lot in value over the last little while. So that's a really good thing. So it's a no-brainer. You're buying stuff anyways. Why not buy it and get your cash back in crypto? You know, we do some of these things already with like things like air miles and, you know, dollars back and stuff like that. But those dollars that you get back are worth 6 or 8% less every single year with inflation. If you're getting crypto back, it's worth more. Did you have a question, Ken?
Yeah, just want to know,
The phone number.
where did you get this from? Or where did you get that? At what bank?
I will send you a link.
A link?
And
Okay.
you can get that.
Okay.
And you'll get $25 and I'll get $25.
Okay.
What a deal, eh? But the funny thing about this is that I can take this, it's a Visa debit card, credit card. You can make it into a credit card if you want, except for you got to have the money in advance, unlike regular credit cards. Like if you want it to be a credit card, you lock up some money with them, and say, for instance, you lock up $5,000 with them, you'll get a $5,000 credit card. But you got $5,000 locked up in crypto. So, I mean, you don't really owe the money. And if your crypto goes up in value, you can pay off your credit card and still have your crypto. So it's a great way to go, and you get back just a little bit all the time, but you're always getting it. So say, for instance, you got a job where you're spending a lot of money on gas, like real estate agents as an example, where you're spending
Tools and everything.
tools, you know, all these things where you're spending money all the time. Now you could be getting cash back all the time, and you're getting back crypto, not cash, which is the important distinction, because you get cash back, it's worth just, you know, cash, right? Yeah, well, it's depending on the platform that you do. They all do their own thing, but ShakePay does Bitcoin. This particular one, CRO, does it in their CRO token. It's a special token that they have. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of different platforms that you can use to do this. The whole point is, you're spending money already. Why not get crypto back? You got to spend money every single week. Why are you trying to get 1% back in a check at the end of the year that means nothing when you can get crypto back right now? If you had Bitcoin going back from that long ago, you could cash it and buy a trip anywhere you wanted to go. You know, and these are the things you want to kind of go a little bit every day. Every time you spend money, you want it to come back in crypto. You don't want it to come back in fiat currency, and that's the important thing. Okay, so groceries. That helps you everything. You're buying groceries, you're buying everyday things you're going to buy all the time. Now you're getting more and more crypto all the time. And we like to talk about Bitcoin, so we call the smallest Bitcoin increment a sat. So you're stacking sats, S-A-T-S. Okay, so you're spending, get money back. So the other one that Wayne talked about last meetup, which is a super important thing, and the best way to buy crypto, no matter how much, if you've got $1 million you want to put into crypto, you should not put $1 million into crypto. You should put $100,000 every single month until you've bought it. Because if you do the math over the course of the time, say the 10 months that you would have put that in, if you'd bought it at the beginning, if you happen to be a superstar and you get lucky, sure, you may do a little better, but almost every single time you'll see that if you put 100 grand a month for 10 months, you put in that $1 million, you would have been way further ahead doing it monthly. And that million, you know, the 100,000 a month is just a goofy number, but that could be $100 a month as well. That's a funny thing, is that if you get that steady, continued increase that you do every single month. No matter what happens, you spend your 100. Wayne's model was with $250, and like we said, it's already gone up 9.5% from last month. So 9.5% in 1 month. What could do that? Like, I don't know what could do that.
Since the meeting that I originally did that, it's gone up over 30%.
30%. And like we said, last year was like, what, about 40, 50,000 Bitcoin. So, and it's 90,000 now. So that was just a year ago. So, people don't realize that you don't really have to wait that long. Everybody, they'll look at it day to day and they'll see all these huge price drops and they'll just go, oh, look at that stuff, it's worth nothing. And then the price will go way up and they'll go, oh, it's too expensive, I can't buy it now. It's like, but meanwhile, you could buy $10 worth of Bitcoin if you wanted to. I mean, it's hard, but you can do it. You could buy $10 worth of Bitcoin. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin, you can buy whatever you want. You can buy it on a regular basis. And if you do that every single month, and there's lots of platforms that allow you to do that. Like I also have Simple. It was fantastic. They paid the transfer fees. And as soon as I did that, I started changing some of my investments into Bitcoin. Because through Simple, you can have, again, this is a MasterCard. It's like a debit MasterCard, just like you would from the bank. It's got a regular checking account through them. And I can tell it every single month to go ahead and do some dollar cost averaging. But the thing about this is that there's no fees. Not only is there no fees, but for any money that I've gotten there, if I've got a positive balance, I actually get interest. And a significant amount of interest, not like what they offer you at most banks. So there's some opportunities there, and also the ability to be able to do crypto, stocks, RRSPs, ETFs, everything that you want to do completely on your own. You don't need an expert to do that. So dollar cost averaging, $100, invested weekly over 3 years, you would have gotten a 200% growth in the last year. Like, that's pretty amazing, I think. What other investment can do that for you? So, swing trading. This is one that there's disclaimers on this one. There's an RSI, the average of Bitcoin, where it's been at its lowest and been at its highest. You can track some of these things, and based on where it goes, you can put money in. And some people will take 5 to 10% of their stock and they'll put it into these swing trades. So in other words, when it goes below the RSI, it's usually a 200-day moving average. If it goes below the 200-day moving average, people will start investing. And then when it goes over the 200-day moving average, people will sell. And some people have had good success doing this. But you have to be into it. You have to be willing to spend time. You have to be willing to learn how to do this. You have to be willing to get on a platform that'll let you do that. And there are lots. And some people do really well with this. This is just way too much work for me, so I don't do it. Like, it's too much work. But there are those that do it. And I've posted about this one too, because it's achievable. Anybody can do it. It's not complicated. It's not hard, but you just got to be prepared for maybe you won't win. Maybe you'll lose. And I'm just not much of a gambler. So for me, it's never been a thing. But it is something you need to look at. So the timeline, year one, what we want to look at is passive income. And the target is 5 to 10% of your growth of your crypto portfolio, whatever that is. You're trying to get about 5 to 10% more in your first year. The second year, you start doing your dollar cost averaging. I would actually recommend in your first year doing your dollar cost averaging, because we're either poised for a big crash or a big pump in Bitcoin. Last meetup, I talked to everyone and I mentioned to them that 67,000 US was kind of that mark where we're going to see things happen. You're either going to see a super big pump or you're going to see a super big crash. And that's right at 67,000. And ironically enough, we're right at about 67,000 US right now. So we don't really know where it's going to go. And I mean, we do a lot of analysis on this kind of stuff through our AI, and we know where some of these things are projected to go. And the thing is, at this point, it's either going to go parabolic. We're looking at 150, 160 US, or it's going to go right down to about 40,000 US. So you're going to see some pretty big, and I know that's kind of like saying it can go anywhere, because that's really where we're at, is it can go anywhere. It's never been, if it hits 69, that's its all-time high US dollars before. And we have to use US dollars because our Canadian dollars are in the toilet and looking worse. But we've gained $600 USD in the course of the meeting. So that's pretty mind-boggling, right? What other asset class could do that? There's nothing out there that could do that.
Oh, no, sorry, it's 68.2.
There you go. And it's going to keep changing. You could announce it. You could be like the announcer, right? Ring the bell. Bing, bing, bing. but the funny thing is that that's exactly what we're facing here now. So we're looking at that. If it hits 69, watch out. You're going to see a parabolic rate. It's going to be where everybody says, "Oh, I wish I'd bought at 90." You know, Canadian, of course,
Yes.
but yeah. Okay, so
Transfer right into that.
which gets us back to risk management, which we can talk about that kind of stuff later, right? Risk management. Okay, cold storage. So most of the time, we want to make sure that we keep our BTC offline. It's really like, it's an unfortunate thing, but a lot of people are not taking proper precautions with their BTC, and they trust online wallets through, you know, compromised computers that end up getting hacked. We've known so many people through the group that have lost just tremendous amounts of crypto just by not doing good practices. And one of the main things you can do is just having a hardware wallet. And you got to diversify as well. Like, you can't, even in what I'm recommending here in some of these platforms, that you can go ahead and you can put different money in, you can make returns and all that kind of stuff. You got to diversify. You can't trust any one platform, because any one of these platforms, especially if they're centralized, they're like a bank. They can go away. So we got to make sure that we don't put all of our eggs in one basket. Now, you may be a guy or a person or a lady who invests in everything, and you may never ever have a problem. But in the same token, if you've at least taken some measures where you've not putting everything in one, if one of them goes bad, your others will probably offset that in a way that you'll be okay. You know, like, things happen, and unfortunately, you know, there are bad players, but any of the ones that I would talk about and recommend are ones that have been around for a long, long time, which again is not necessarily a guarantee, but it's a good indicator that they may be a good way to go as well. So, final thoughts. BNuts, our AI, like I said, anybody that wants questions answered, I'll answer that through the Telegram channel. And I had plans to open the AI up for everybody through the channel, but it turns out that it's going to require a little more bandwidth than what I have right now to do that. So it's a big, big difference. So those days of trusting these individuals that say they know everything about crypto and they know what's going to happen, those days are done. If you have the proper AI, you know how to program it, you can literally get these answers all on your own. You don't have to rely on anybody else. So this was words from BNuts, which is our AI. Stack those stats like a true maximalist. Ditch fiat. HODL. Let BTC take you to the promised land. And all joking aside, that's what it will do. If you get enough sats, you're really not going to be thinking about fiat anymore. It's not even going to be an issue. And so, see, I didn't even know. Anybody know what that acronym means?
Too long to read.
Yeah. Yeah, Brock knew too, okay. But not many people would know. But yeah, too long, didn't read. So to boil it all down, 5 things, right?
Didn't read.
Too long, didn't read. So in other words, you lost me a while ago. Yeah, but this is it really boiled down, okay? You hodl. So in other words, don't sell. Simple, but hard to do. Like, it sounds simple. It's like, well, of course I'm not going to sell. But we talked about this. Okay, let's say, for instance, like when we got in, you don't know. Bitcoin is just, nobody even heard of it. Everybody you talk to thinks you're nuts. You know, so okay, I got this Bitcoin. Yeah, what are you going to do with it? Well, I don't know, but it's cool. It's like, it's digital currency. Well, it sounds stupid to me. And this is everybody, right? Okay, well, and they go, you mean you doubled your money? It's like, yeah, I doubled my money. This stuff is amazing. It's going crazy. It's going to go parabolic. Yeah, right. Why don't you just sell it? And what do you think most people do? You've doubled your money now. Most people sell it. But let's say you're a diehard. You're the guy with the diamond hands. Okay, now, you know, you've got a pretty substantial investment there, and it's gone up to a huge amount of money. Most people at that point will sell. Well, when it goes 10x, 100x, 1000x, 1800x, most of the people that bought it, and other than those that are really wealthy, or other than those that have lost their wallets and then recover it, most everyone sold. Hate to tell you, but most everyone sold, because, you know, you're going to get to that point where you're going to say, well, how much do I need? But that's not the way to think about it. The way to think about it is you get as much as you can, and then you sell off tiny, tiny little bits of it to have a nice life. And that's really what it's about. It's just getting as much as you can, continuing to get as much as you can, and then selling tiny little bits of it off to have a great life. And that's what it'll let you do. And I think that's the best thing about it. Some of this stuff is a little more dangerous, like swing trading, you could lose some money doing that. But dollar cost averaging, you know, getting your Bitcoin through rewards and earning interest on your existing Bitcoin and just hanging on and waiting is your biggest asset for this whole thing. And if you do that, you're gonna do good. You're gonna be okay. So start stacking sats now. And we've got a question and answer here. So if anyone's got any questions, I'll answer any questions you got about doing this or how to do that. But I'm going to leave that, before I open that up, I'm going to leave this on this, which I think is really cool. This is Satoshi Nakamoto's quote. The root problem with conventional currency is that all the trust is required to make it work. You got to have trust. You got to trust the bank. The central bank must be trusted not to debase the currency, but the history of fiat currency is full of breaches of that trust. And we've seen that so much over the last little while. Look what's happened with the US. Trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, and now, you know, one potential president is going to increase it by 8 trillion, and the other one's going to increase it by 6 trillion, and it's just like, and then we've got our government, and they're just talking about increasing our debt even higher, yet they can't do that with Bitcoin. And that's the most important thing. But that was it. I'm done. Question?
Because you do not know where it's going, so you sell. It was a good chunk of money. The next big wave that we hit was Bitcoin went to $20,000.
Yeah.
And then it dropped to 3,000. You remember that?
I do remember that.
We weren't buying it.
No, we were scared. And that's not rehearsed. I mean, like, holy shit, we were scared, man. We thought, that's it, it's gone.
So 20,000 to 3,000.
Yeah.
And what do? Do you sell at that point when it's going down like a rifle? Like really?
Guaranteed
Like
loss. And it's going to happen again, by the way.
DCA,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
cost average.
Exactly.
Make
So
it a mathematical
from there,
equation.
It gained traction again, but this was a long time after the fact. Like it hit 10,000
long
and
time,
12,
yeah.
and then it was like
Yeah.
up and down to 9 and whatever. And then it went, instead of going to 20, it went to 40.
I
like
know.
almost immediately.
Yeah.
It went like psycho. So it's like dollar cost averagers keep on buying. Like if you were dollar cost averaging at that time, yeah, you're buying at 20,000, but then you're buying at 3.
yeah. And you're just getting more Bitcoin.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's the goal, is to get more Bitcoin. And forget about the value in fiat currency.
Right.
We're trained to do this.
Yes.
We're trained to look at what the value is in fiat currency. But if you can, you know, discipline yourself enough to not look at the fiat part of this and look at the Bitcoin part of this, and if your goal is to have 0.1 of a Bitcoin. Michael Saylor recently said that if you can get 0.1 of a Bitcoin, you're going to be among the wealthiest people in the next 10 to 20 years. So if your goal is to get 0.1 of a Bitcoin and you do that, great. If it's 1 Bitcoin or 10 Bitcoin or 100 Bitcoin, make your goal, get out there, start doing it. These little ways will make a huge difference to increase the amount that you can get. And as you do this, and you know, we'll play this back about a year from now, right? Because we always do that. And about a year from now, everyone's going to be saying, maybe a year from now, it's going to be what? Like 60,000 Canadian or $1 million?
Could be.
Could be anywhere in between. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at.
We should do the guess for that and then look at it a year from now.
Yeah, we should for sure. Well, I'm going to post this one up.
So
Yeah.
one of the other things that I bring up a lot is El Salvador backing their country with Bitcoin. And for the newcomers, I want to reiterate this. They have given every person in their country $40 of value to use in Bitcoin in a wallet.
Which has gone up a lot.
Which has gone up a lot, yes. And every merchant must take Bitcoin.
Got some beer left.
So the genius behind what they've done is those are custodial wallets. That's incredible.
Think about that one. One of our original CryptoNutz members is down in El Salvador, has been down there for, oh God, I want to say 3 or 4 years now.
Wow.
He's bought property down there, is doing things on Bitcoin Beach, and there's some exciting stuff going on down there. Yeah, there really is a place there, yeah. Bitcoin Ben actually Skyped in for us here, yeah. So it's up on our YouTube channel, I think, yeah. Bitcoin Ben, he's a trucker who became a Bitcoin guy. And we go back with Bitcoin Ben. We've got, what was that, 2015?
Oh, that's a long time.
2015, where Bitcoin Ben, yeah, he's funny, he's a character. Yeah, a trucker. Likes his coffee. Likes his coffee.
He was a
Yeah.
meeting before there was a conference.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
He's a funny guy, yeah. We had a lot of fun when he Skyped in with us, and we chatted with him for what, about an hour and a half, I think, or something, yeah. The whole group chatted with him, it was fun. We also had Reggie Middleton, who I don't know if anybody knows who Reggie Middleton is, but Reggie Middleton, what did he create again, Wayne? Veritoken, Veritasium, that's right. Reggie Middleton, Veritasium, yes. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and then he had the stable token based on gold as well. He Skyped in for us. We've had some interesting characters over the years.
Get Elon to do it.
I'm working on that one, but he's not responding to my tweets. I don't know why. Like,
Tell him you want to go to Mars. He'll talk to you.
I actually had a few people ask me about the Nuts token again recently because we were one of the original people with our Nuts token that was on Uniswap. Like, I think we were in the first 100 coins that were on Uniswap was our Nuts token was on there, and we were on the Binance Smart Chain. We're also on Polygon, and we've just always done it as a fun token, kind of like an extension of the Beer DAO, something like that. We got the airdrop for being among the first people on Uniswap
Oh, yeah.
with the Nuts token. Yeah, it was.